everyone. Welcome to our talk, Homocysteine, What is it and Why You Should Care? Today I'm with Dr. Sandra Bevacqua interviewing. My name is Adriana Echevarria. I'm a holistic healthcare practitioner. Just as a little about her, Dr. Sandra Bevacqua is a PhD in molecular and cellular biology with additional expertise in genetic engineering, nutrition, and the human body. She is the progenitor of a web-based practice where she balances individualized blood chemistries and hormones all through natural means. So Dr. Bevacqua, and then before we go into it, if you want to learn more about our work, go ahead and check us out at drsandybevacqua.com. Hello.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. How are you today?
I'm very, very well.
All right, so let's get into it. What is homocysteine and why is high homocysteine dangerous for our health?
Well, homocysteine is something that the body makes when we take in protein. So if we eat protein foods, a protein-rich meal, we're going to break down that protein in our bodies into the individual building blocks of protein, which are called amino acids. And every one of those that have sulfur in them, so at least one atom of sulfur, those are going to become sulfur-bearing amino acids, and they all get made into homocysteine. And then that homocysteine is used, like when our body wants to make new proteins and it needs one of those, it goes to that pot of homocysteine and makes the other amino acid like methionine or cysteine or serine with the conversion is done with B vitamins. Okay, so what happens in some cases is that people don't have enough of the B vitamins, or they have difficulty using their B vitamins, and they build up homocysteine. Now, homocysteine built up in the system is like having madmen with sledgehammers in the bloodstream.
Oh, wow.
Okay, and they're going along, banging the walls and making big holes in the walls and causing damage in the blood vessels. Now, this is a big problem because, so now you have damage, right? You've got a hole in the wall, and the cleanup crew comes in, and what they'll do is they'll clean up the rubble, right, from the wall. But, and these are monocytes that are doing this. So the monocytes come in, and they're doing their cleanup crew, but they're also going to clean up things that they find in the blood. Well, let's say this is someone that has some LDL, so that's kind of the bad cholesterol, right? And LDL that's been oxidized. And there's a number of different antioxidants that will protect us from oxidized LDL, but most people don't have enough antioxidants in their system, and those monocytes will gobble up the oxidized LDL, and they blow up full of LDL right at the site where the damage was, and eventually they become something called foam cells. Foam cells can't move around the body like monocytes. They're just stuck there until they die, and then they go. And all that LDL gets stuck right around the area where the damage was done from the homocysteine. All right? Wow. And so that plaque that's left on the vessel then can calcify, and now we have a condition called atherosclerosis, which is hardening of the arteries. So high homocysteine can start when we're kids, and the damage can happen, but the hardening of the arteries is what kills a lot of Americans. Cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer. And one of the ways that we can take care of that is lower homocysteine. All right? So homocysteine is a big deal.
That sounds very important, and it's obviously something we all want to avoid. So do you mind telling us how high homocysteine would happen, how we would avoid that?
Yes, actually, and you know, I think that I need to also emphasize how important this is. This condition can cause high blood pressure, heart attacks, strokes. It also is associated with autoimmune disease and high inflammation that is related to inflammatory diseases, autoimmune diseases, cancer, and diabetes. And so we really, if we want to avoid the main diseases that kill us off, we want to make sure that this is taken care of. And so who's going to have this problem? Anyone that has vitamin or nutrient deficiencies, right? So especially B vitamin deficiencies, if you don't have enough B vitamins. And that can happen if your gut is not right, if you're not digesting well, if you don't have the right bugs in your gut. You can imagine that you're not absorbing the proper nutrition from your food.
Right.
And here's something that a lot of people don't realize, that if you have the right bugs in your gut, you have good population and you've got wide diversity in the gut bacteria will create more B vitamins, more antioxidants than you can actually get from your diet.
Wow.
So you wouldn't have to, if people would take care of their gut, biology, then they would have a lot more nutrition and we wouldn't have these issues.
Right. And it sounds like the gut is the root for so many different issues out there. So really eating healthy, making sure you're getting that fiber, that protein, that healthy fats, the green leafy vegetables, you would say is, now you understand why it's so important. It's just one of the reasons.
One of the many, many reasons.
All right.
So low levels of B vitamins, and the particular B vitamins that convert homocysteine are B6, B9, and B12. B6, B9, and B9, we know that as folate. So if you're more familiar with that name, but B6, folate, and B12 are the vitamins that convert homocysteine into the final product, the final amino acids that we use for the proteins. And so anytime you're burning up your B vitamins, you're going to tend to have high homocysteine. So who is that? That is the person that's taking in a simple carbohydrate diet. So they may not, and I'm not anti-carbohydrate, but what I'm saying is if you're taking in more carbohydrates than you're using up, then it's going to tend to deplete those B vitamins. But those B vitamins are also used for breaking down molecules, so for digesting food, but also for breaking down toxins in our body. So as you can imagine, it can, if we're having difficulty digesting or we're getting exposed to toxins or even pharmaceutical drugs like statins and the medications used for Parkinson's have been shown to cause high homocysteine, but it's toxic exposure out in the environment. And, we see in our offices that as we test people for environmental toxins, just in the last 10 to 15 years, the amount of toxins that people are holding has skyrocketed.
Wow.
And so a lot of people are very B vitamin deficient. So those are the issues.
All right. And that leads me to our next question, which is how do you test homocysteine levels? What do you do if it's too high? What do you do if it's too low?
Well, let's do the too low first. That's very rare to have homocysteine too low. And that's only going to be in someone that's incredibly starved. That is a starvation situation where that person barely has any food intake at all. They don't have enough protein to make some homocysteine. So we almost never see that in this country. But see plenty of people with high homocysteine.
Right.
And the way that you test it is you go to the blood lab and have homocysteine tested. That's the name of the test. And it's a simple test, it's cheap to do, and most physicians do not look at homocysteine. So that is a very easy thing.
Right.
But I already told you about the fact that the B6, B9, and B12 are needed to process it. So it's a really good idea to do a B vitamin panel and look at the B vitamins and see if you're missing any of them or if they're very low. Or in the case of someone that has difficulty, I said before, sometimes there's genetic issues. And a lot of people now are familiar with the genes surrounding the folate or MTHFR genes. That's methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase. It's an enzyme that you need to activate folate. And there's 8 genes that we know of now, there's going to be more probably, that are needed to be correct in order to be able to do that well. And 40% of our population can't activate folate well.
Oh, wow.
All right,
That's a big
40%.
percentage.
That's a big percentage of people. And so those people are going to have a greater chance of having super high homocysteine levels and having cardiovascular disease as a result,
Wow.
right? And we have, and you know about this, we have evidence in our office that maybe about a third of the population has a hard time with B6 as well. And the way that we've seen that is by seeing extremely high levels of B6. So people are taking their B complex, not processing their B6, and getting into toxic levels
Oh, wow.
of B6. And you know that is, in some cases, it can even turn into neuropathy.
Mm,
So toxic levels of B6 because you're taking it and you can't use it.
right.
Right? And that happens with folate as well. So if
Mm.
people can't process the folate, they can get into toxic levels. But for them, it's not neuropathy. They'll just get incredibly depressed and anxious.
Right. It sounds like a domino effect
Mhm.
too. So really making sure at your annuals, getting that homocysteine tested, getting your B vitamins tested, because I think I can speak for all of us. None of us really want to get cardiac disease. So
Yeah.
so homocysteine, people, it's very important.
Yeah, we want to take care of the blood vessels. And this is one of the ways that you do it. And it's not something that you wait until you're in Medicare before you get done. It's something that young people need to be doing and checking because the heart disease doesn't start at an elderly age. It starts when we're quite young as children. So getting tested is the way to go. And you know, if the blood tests say you're missing some of the B vitamins, you know, and for some people it might be helpful to do genetics, but if you have a practitioner that can interpret those results, or maybe you can do it yourself, if something is very low, if you're missing a B vitamin, supplement with that B vitamin. You're going to need more of it. And if it's extremely high, know that you might be having a hard time processing it. Okay, so, and that's that. I would suggest having a practitioner,
Right.
a holistic healthcare practitioner to be able to help out with that because the medical doctors are not as versed in this particular area. Although decreasing homocysteine, the only way to do it is to take in the right balance of B vitamins or just go with B vitamins that are already activated and methylated, and that will get that homocysteine down. Okay.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Dr. Bevacqua. Like I said at the beginning, if you want to learn more, please visit drsandybevacqua.com. Until next time, thank you.
Take care, everyone.